They sing songs and swing dongs, just don't use them wrong. Bards are largely known as cocky minstrels that utilize their silver tongues to lay waste to enemies and allies alike. Some of the shenanigans lend from stories that would lead you to question the biology of certain monster species. It's always an entertaining joke, but in reality, bards are so much more than that. They're meant to represent the artists of a magical world that might utilize paints, dance, or spoken word just as well as a musical instrument. And like most Renaissance artists, bards are well versed in a variety of topics, generally reliable and versatile in most situations that they aren't outright brilliant in. And what they are brilliant at is charisma. Bards are charisma-based casters, so you're going to want to prioritize that ability score and possibly dexterity, followed by constitution, and then just about anything you feel would be flavorful. With just how versatile bards are, your strength, intelligence, and wisdom scores can fall anywhere depending on how you want to roleplay your character. What is clear and consistent is that you'll want to settle on a species option that gives you a nice boost to charisma and dexterity. So half-elves, tieflings, satyr, and changelings all offer really interesting thematic boons along with great ability score increases for a bard. Of course, you can also opt for the custom origin rule from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything that allows you to assign these boosts however you'd like. You know, express yourself. Then, before things get too broken, starting at level 1, your bard will have a d8 hit die as well as proficiency in light armor, simple weapons, hand crossbows, long swords, rapiers, short swords, and any 3 musical instruments of your choice, along with dexterity and charisma saving throws and any 3 skills in the game. Why yes, you did hear that right. Bards are able to channel their talents into whatever direction they choose right off the bat. So you could be a spooky bard with proficiency in intimidation, or a wizened bard with proficiency in perception. To the window! To the wall! To the wall! But most importantly, you'll be unlocking your spellcasting feature right away at level 1. I usually don't mention this, but do also make sure to talk to your DM about using the expanded spell list from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything for some extra flavorful options that can also pack a punch. Now, earlier we said that the Bard is a charisma-based caster. This, of course, means that your spell attack modifier will be your proficiency bonus plus your charisma modifier, and your spell save DC will be that plus 8. Further, the Bard is also a spells known caster, so that means that you'll be stuck with the spells that you select between level ups rather than preparing new ones at the start of each adventuring day. Rules is written, you can only replace 1 spell you know per level up, so you'll really want to put some extra thought into what you pick. To begin, you'll get to choose 2 cantrips and 4 first level spell slots from your Bard spell list to use with your 2 first level spell slots. Here's a table that dictates what other spells and spell slots you'll get as you level 2. And on that note, you should probably consider Mage Hand for some creative gaffes, Vicious Mockery to debuff and damage enemies with clever insults, Silvery Barbs because it's the best spell in the game, and Tasha's Hideous Laughter for some fantastic early battlefield control. With all these options for bolstering your party, it should come as no surprise that you'll be doing even more with Bardic Inspiration, the keystone feature for bards that you'll be utilizing throughout the game. By making use of your bonus action, you can choose 1 creature within 60 feet of you that can hear you and grant them a Bardic Inspiration die, which is a d6 at this point. Then that creature can roll the die and add it to any 1 ability check, attack roll, or saving throw within the next 10 minutes. Creatures can only have 1 inspiration die at a time, and they do lose it once it's used, but the feature comes in extremely clutch in situations where your party really needs 1 more success at a very critical moment. You can grant these inspirations a number of times equal to your charisma modifier per long rest, and the size of the die grows to be a d8 at 5th level, a d10 at 10th level, and a d12 at 15th level, scaling quite nicely as challenge ratings and DCs grow in the run of your campaign. You can technically even use these inspirations for death saving throws, and if your DM is okay with using optional rules, creatures can even use your inspiration die to increase the effectiveness of spells they cast that heal or do damage. So, as long as your allies remember to use the inspirations you give them, it's a really strong use of your bonus action on most rounds of combat and during skill challenges. Even if you can't inspire yourself with your own music, because, well, you're more aware than anyone that you're just a hack that steals melodies from the top 100 charts. And now that you and your allies are hitting way above your weight class, we move on to level 2, where you become a jack of all trades. Beginning at this level and for the rest of your musical career, you'll be able to add half your proficiency bonus rounded down to any ability check that you make that you aren't already proficient in. So is the rogue going to be better than you at picking locks? Probably. Is the barbarian going to be better at smashing stuff? Definitely. But there are always going to be situations where you need to fill in the gaps and save the day as an absolute wild card. What's more exciting? The wizard succeeding on their 10th Arcana check in a row, or the bard somehow stumbling onto the next mysterious plot point in your campaign? I know my answer. Pro tip, this even works for initiative rolls, ability checks for counterspell, and more. But also at 2nd level, you'll gain the ability to heal up your party during a short rest with a soothing melody. Nobody said medicine had to taste good, right? Realistically, your Song of Rest might go a bit underappreciated in today's climate of less combats per day and less need to rely on an extra 1d6 of healing during a short rest, but it can come in handy during particularly long dungeon crawls, especially when the song's effectiveness increases to 1d8 at 9th level, 1d10 at 13th level, and 1d12 at 17th level. Then at 3rd level, we get one of my favorite generic features in D&D, expertise. With this ability, you'll be able to choose any 2 of your skill proficiencies, and your proficiency bonus doubles for that skill. At this point, that means you'll be getting a +4 to those skills even without including your ability modifiers, and it gets even better later when your proficiency bonus becomes a +6 for a total of +12 for those skills without factoring in any other bonuses. At that level in your campaign, you'll probably have a pretty good idea of where your expertise should go and what your party needs in order to help them succeed. Or you can just choose persuasion and deception for good measure and talk yourself into and out of trouble whenever you see fit. And this decision isn't the only one you'll have at 3rd level. You'll also get to choose your Bard College subclass. Now, I've heard a lot of people get confused about this terminology in the past. A Bard College doesn't mean you literally attend a school, though you could flavor it that way if you'd like. Really, you'll be choosing a focus for your bardic affinities, something akin to a school of thought. And as I'm sure you can imagine, there are a lot of options to choose from. So I'll give a brief overview of each of them here with certain features highlighted, but I'll save the more intricate details for future videos and character builds that I'll be sure to link in the guide as we go along. First up, we have the College of Creation, one of the newest options from Tasha's Cauldron. These bards view the beginning of reality as a work of art and aim to share this beautiful vision of the first dragons and gods with the rest of the world. Beginning when you take the subclass, your bard will be able to add additional effects to their bardic inspiration uses, such as multiple rolls to choose from for each bardic inspiration on an ability check, extra thunder damage to creatures within 5 feet of a creature targeted by an attack that uses inspiration, and even temporary hit points equal to your charisma modifier for any creature that uses inspiration to aid them in a saving throw. You can even create non-magical items out of thin air, beginning with medium-sized items at level 3, large items at 6th level, and huge items at 14th level.
Did someone call for a trebuchet?
No, you were supposed to be making a key for this door.
Later on, you can animate a non-magical item within 30 feet to fight alongside of you while using your bardic inspirations with the same bonus action that you use to command it. The item itself has a fly speed with hover, deals 1d10 plus your proficiency bonus and force damage with its attack, and automatically increases or decreases the speed of creatures that start within 10 feet of it. Not too shabby for a flying sex toy. And then at 14th level, you'll get an enhancement for your item creation feature that allows you to create more than one item at once.
Did someone call for 5 trebuchets? Oh, right.
In all seriousness, you can't really go wrong with this subclass. It takes what the bard is all about and makes it even better. Silly jokes with a mix of clever solutions in and out of combat. But that is nothing compared to what the Eloquence bard brings to the table. Characters of this college take political intrigue to a whole new level with logical approaches to social interactions with a cultured high society flavor. Right away at level 3, your bard will always roll a 10 or higher on the die for any deception or persuasion check. That's really strong at any level of play. And if you combine this with expertise, you'll have every NPC wrapped around your little finger. Your charisma is apparently so strong that you can even use your bardic inspirations to negatively impact enemy saving throws as well. From there, you'll gain abilities that don't burn your bardic inspirations if your allies fail the rolls that they use them on, have creatures understand you even if you're speaking in a different language that they don't know, and at 14th level, inspire others for free as a reaction to one of your allies using your bardic inspiration successfully. I think a lot of people tend to underestimate the Eloquence Bard since so many of these abilities aren't necessarily combat oriented at first glance. But the Bard was never really about that anyway, and trust me, at times your DM may even ask you to turn down the charm as you break through any social barrier they throw your way with this broken subclass. Now, with a somewhat similar flavor, let's touch on the College of Glamour. These bards hone their theatrical craft in both the light and dark parts of the Feywild as they use their magic to enchant and captivate those around them. When you take the subclass at 3rd level, you'll be able to grant temporary hit points to your allies within 60 feet by expending a use of your bardic inspiration and allow them to instantly move up to their movement speed as a reaction without incurring opportunity attacks. What's more, you'll be able to charm audiences of your performances if you can get them to watch you for a minute and fail a subsequent wisdom saving throw. Granted, this ability is a bit more niche, but you'll enjoy the resulting roleplay that spawns from it as you move into later levels where you can cast the command spell as a bonus action without expending a spell slot for a full minute, and eventually force enemies to make a wisdom save the first time they attack you on each turn over the same minute duration. While these later abilities can only be activated once per short rest after level 14 and once per long rest up until then, it can be pretty potent when the ability comes online. Couple that with a heaping helping of temporary hit points for your allies, and you'll find a pretty nice bang for buck subclass in the College of Glamour. Which brings us to one of my personal favorites in the College of Lore. As the name might indicate, this subclass is all about truth and history rather than lies and politics. In collecting their own personal library of knowledge and learning, lore bards will get 3 extra skill proficiencies along with the ability to expend a bardic inspiration as a reaction to subtract from an enemy's attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, all at just 3rd level. And let's just think about that for a second. Impeding enemy dice rolls as a reaction is exactly why Silvery Barbs has become one of the most powerful and annoying spells in the game. Now you get something similar without using a spell slot, and this subclass gets even better from there when you get to take any 2 spells from any class at level 6 and use your bardic inspiration for your own ability checks at level 14. All that combined makes the lore bard one of the strongest out there. It's easy to see why I love this one and why some of these features will make your DM pull their hair out rather than just grit their teeth at your lackluster sex jokes. But the flavor train has not left the station just yet, as we now get a look at the College of Spirits, another one of my favorite subclasses. Granted, this option was introduced in the Ravenloft sourcebook, so your DM may choose not to include it as an option, but I'd be remiss not to include this haunting entry. At the start, you'll be given the extremely useful guidance cantrip and the ability to bestow various boons to your allies determined by the roll of your bardic inspiration die. While the effect is random, most of the options are quite good, and they get better as you level up your inspiration die and gain access to more and more of the list. Speaking of, as you level, you'll also gain the ability to add a d6 to the damage or healing of any bard spell you cast, temporarily learn a spell from any class via an hour-long ritual, and eventually roll twice on the random table of boons from earlier and pick the preferred result. Now, while I'd like to be able to choose the boon I use by level 14, the ability to temporarily learn any spell each long rest, deal extra damage and healing, and just gain access to the guiding cantrip makes this quite powerful and really flavorful if you're looking for that spooky vibe. Next, we have the College of Swords, which, as you can imagine, takes a shot at bringing your bard into melee combat. At 3rd level, you'll get a very necessary proficiency in medium armor and the scimitar, as you can also use any simple or melee martial weapon as a spellcasting focus. You'll also get a pretty necessary fighting style for a +2 bonus to damage rolls, or the ability to use 2-weapon fighting, and a feature called Blade Flourish, which allows you to perform several special attacks once per turn by expending a bardic inspiration die to deal extra damage, increase your movement speed, beef up your AC, and much more. From there, you'll get an extra attack at 6th level and later avoid burning bardic inspirations on your blade flourishes by opting to use just a plain old d6 instead. If anything, this subclass is fairly well balanced and does a decent enough job at turning your bard into a melee combatant. It's especially capable in early levels and works really nicely with some multi-class dips into something like Hexblade Warlock or maybe even Paladin. And in much the same way, Valor Bards aim to do a similar thing. As one of the first subclasses introduced in the player's handbook, I like to imagine the College of Valor as beefy bards that pound on war drums as they march into battle, or at least sing about epic fights in their local tavern. To start, you'll gain proficiency with medium armor, shields, and martial weapons, notably an improvement from the Swords Bard, who does not have shield proficiency. And your allies will also be able to use their bardic inspirations to add to their weapon damage or their AC. Of course, this subclass will also get an extra attack at 6th level, and you'll get the chance to make an attack as a bonus action when you cast a bard spell as an action at 14th level. I've honestly heard plenty of debate on whether the Swords Bard or the Valor Bard is a better pick here, and I personally have to admit that I prefer the plethora of options and flexibility that I get with the Swords Bard, but a lot can be said about the Valor Bard's access to shield proficiency and how nice an extra d6 for damage or AC is as early as 3rd level. It's certainly not a bad option. Then we arrive at the College of Whispers. You might liken these bards to rogues in the sense that they use their abilities to keep and uncover secrets that empower themselves while assuming a relatively innocent facade. And as on brand as ever, at level 3, you'll gain the ability to deal 2d6 extra psychic damage on your weapon attacks by expending a bardic inspiration die, with that damage increasing to as much as 8d6 later, and you'll also gain the ability to frighten a creature after speaking to them for a minute against a wisdom saving throw. Later on, you'll be able to conjure the visage and surface memories of individuals that die within 30 feet of you as a powerful disguise, and eventually charm creatures as an action against a wisdom saving throw by convincing them that you know their deepest, darkest secret. So, as if the Bard wasn't already going to win every social encounter they come across, the Whispers Bard hedges their bets with blackmail and threats. While this isn't necessarily one of the best Bard subclasses out there, it is extremely flavorful. Sure, you could just multi-class into Rogue instead, but what would be the fun in that? After all, there are not really any bad options for Bard subclasses, so I've always felt free to just move in the direction that my character's flavor takes me. And that takes us to 4th level, where we get our first ability score improvement. We'll also get more at 8th, 12th, 16th, and 19th level, where we can also replace skills we've chosen for expertise, or replace a cantrip if your DM is okay with using the new optional class features from Tasha's Cauldron. Then at 5th level, we won't have to wait for a long rest to replenish our bardic inspirations, and they'll come back on a short rest instead. 6th level sees us gain a pretty useless counter charm ability that takes an action to give your allies within 30 feet advantage against being frightened or charmed until the end of your next turn. I'd hope to at least give my allies outright immunity to those conditions, but hey, they can't all be winners. Instead, cheer yourself up with some new awesome bard spells like Aid for a huge party HP buff, Liamon's Tiny Hut to protect the party during rests, Hypnotic Pattern to completely debilitate enemies in combat, and Polymorph as if you needed yet another option to get you out of most situations. But you'll become your own get out of jail free card at 10th level when you get another round of expertise, so you'll have a total of 4 skills that you can double your proficiency bonus for. By this point, your bard is going to be your all-purpose solution for just about any skill check situation, as well as a pretty apt combatant, as you'll also get your first round of magical secrets. This feature, which also comes online at level 10, allows your bard to learn any 2 spells from any classes. This feature is insane, and it's why late game bards are about as broken as it gets. Throughout making these guides for each class, there have been several classes with access to specific spells that made them stand apart from the rest. The bard takes that exclusivity and just adds it to their own act. Eldritch Blast, Spirit Guardians, Conjure Woodland Beings, Fireball. It's all fair game. And if you have trouble deciding, you'll get to learn 2 more spells at 14th level and 2 more spells at 18th level. This is the biggest reason for the bard's brokenness, but it doesn't stop there, as at level 20, when you roll initiative and have no bardic inspiration left, you'll regain 1. Okay, like I said before, they can't all be winners, but you'll hardly care when you have access to every broken spell in the game. And trust me, There are a lot of those. On top of all the wild spell slinging antics and the wish spell in particular, you'll have the ability to outperform most other classes in their own skill challenges while inspiring them to do better with D12 bonuses to attack rolls, ability checks, and saving throws. So be sure to share the most broken bard mayhem you've witnessed in the comments below. And until next time, go out there and make some chaos.